I'd like to share with you a few common reasons why your tell me about yourself goes bad in job interviews. The first scenario is for candidates who take this elevator pitch too seriously. What happens here is that if you spend too much time rehearsing your tell me about yourself or overly rehearsing it, chances are it might also sound a bit flat and uninteresting, because what happens is there's a certain point after which there's a diminishing return of your investment in rehearsing it. So basically what I'm suggesting you here is that once you're happy with it, to simply stop and move on to other activities. The second common mistake while building your tell me about yourself would be they sound a bit boring. And there are some specific reasons for which they might sound like so. The most common of them being that your tell me about yourself is not tailored to the person that you're interviewing with. For example, your tell me about yourself, if for instance you're a technical person, might sound quite different when you try to pitch it to another peer, when compared to pitching it to a recruiter or a hiring manager, right, who may not be such a technical person, right? So if you want to make a compelling pitch to a technical person, you'd likely go on the technical side. Whereas if you want to do the same for a recruiter, you cannot expect the recruiter to understand everything you say on the technicalities, and therefore, it might sound a bit boring. Another very common reason for which your tell me about yourself might come across as boring is because it's an enumeration, a very simple enumeration, even taken out word for word from your CV. The third point I want to talk about here is that a common reason, a common mistake while pitching yourself in your job interview is that you are reading it too much from your script. So it's a bit the opposite of the first one, of the overly rehearsed. What happens here is that this can happen with any answer in a job interview, is that if you cannot remember that answer sufficiently well, in this case, you tell me about yourself, you will have a tendency to look every now and then at your notes, and even a reflex for some candidates to read entire sentences from your notes, including AI-rewarded notes. What happens here, this can be quite distracting for your interviewer and might not be received as genuine as you might expect. So basically the fix here would be to rehearse it up to a level that you're confident you can deliver it without looking too much in your notes. Right? The next point I'd like to share with you here is that oftentimes there's a correlation in my clients from the CV I look to their elevator pitch. Simply put, if your CV looks bad, it's very likely that your elevator pitch will follow that trend. And even vice versa, if your CV is well polished, professionally made, many candidates would have a professional elevator pitch. And what not many candidates know is that some companies even encourage candidates to have their CV made by someone. In other words, you pay for someone to do your CV. Similarly, if you choose that route, you should know that it's also an investment you might want to consider to pay someone to rehearse, your elevator pitch and to role play for the purpose of a job interview, exactly in a sense to build a compelling tell me about yourself. And the final point I'd like to share with you here, while your tell me about yourself might not be sufficiently interesting, is because it might lack metrics. And not just metrics, but one of the behaviors that is the most important for candidates in job interviews is your ability to sell yourself as someone able to deliver results. And delivering results starts from your tell me about yourself. So, long story short, you must ensure that your elevator pitch, your tell me about yourself, talks about your results, and you should ideally try to quantify them as well through some metrics. I hope you found this useful, and thank you very much for watching.